Hey there everyone, it's Ed here from Bunch of Swines and we are back in the barn. I know we've been away for a while and lots of people have been asking when we're going to do another video. So today is your lucky day. Today we are going to be cooking something that we've kind of come up with over the last year or so. We actually cooked this for the UK Chili Championships for the Chili Verde category. So basically it's our take on a sort of Mexican inspired or style pork butt, so doing pulled pork, but yeah, we're going to use different flavors to your traditional barbecue style. So we're going to use things like this Tomatillo salsa to kind of help build out that kind of tangy flavors that we're going to look for. Admittedly, we're still going to treat this exactly the same, very similar to we would a normal pork butt. So we're going to braise it, smoke it, braise it, and get it cooked and nice and tender, and this is going to make an awesome dinner tonight. So let's get a bit closer and we'll have a look at how we're going to trim and season this up. So you can see here we're starting off with this pork collar. So this is basically a cut off of the pork butt, but this has got all the good bits. So you can see here we've got a bit of a money muscle here and all these other pieces. So this has already been had a lot of the fat taken off, but there is enough marbling within this meat that it's still going to stay tender and juicy as we cook it. And we've got a few other tricks going on with that. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just running my hands over this just to see if I can feel for any kind of bone fragments or anything that's going to be a bit tough that I'm not liking before we actually season it up, because if I take it off now, there's no chance of it getting into the final product. There we go. I mean, these are cut pretty lean, so there's not a huge amount of waste. I just want to take a little bit of this fat off just to expose more of the meat, just so we can get our rubs into there. So, but that is all you've got to do on these pork collars, which is nice and easy. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start building up our layers of flavour. So the first thing we've got is this Big Poppa Smokers Jallelujah rub, which is a jalapeno seasoned salt. So it's got all those great bits like salt, pepper, garlic, but then we also get that jalapeno spice in there and kind of build up a nice crust and bark onto the meat. So, literally, and we're just going to go over the pork and paint it green with the rub. So just making sure I get a nice, quite reasonable coating on top of that. Okay, I'm just going to pat that down because I want to flip it over, so we can season the other side of it as well. I'll probably go a bit lighter on this. This is the bottom of it, so some of this will come off more in cooking, but I still want a bit on there. And then, cover off the ends. Again, just over the top. And then I'm just going to give it another final coating on top. Really build up that flavour. So that's the start of it. Obviously, so now we've got a nice base layer of salt, pepper, jalapeno flakes and all that kind of stuff. But I do want to add a few more kind of Mexican, traditional Mexican inspired kind of flavours to the pork butt. So for this, I'm literally just ground, dried spices, which I'm just going to go straight over with. So again, go quite lightly. I don't want to hit them up too much. Okay, so I've got a bit of ground coriander. Okay, and then the next, a little bit of cinnamon. Again, go really light with the cinnamon because it can be quite strong. But you get that over there, and then finally, we're going for a little bit of ground cumin. Again, yes, you could mix this all together and kind of make more of a, incorporate it in with the jalapeno seasoned salt with the Big Poppa rub for this, but I mean, I just don't have a problem in kind of layering it up this way. And again, we just repeat that same process on the back. So, got our coriander powder again. Okay. Get that nice coating. Again, with the cinnamon. And then finally with the ground cumin. And then that's it. So you literally, I'm just going to pat this in, okay, and we'll get this, let this sit and rest. So that is literally all the prep we need to do right now. Really simple, really easy. What we're going to do now, we're just going to let this sit here. We're going to get our gateway drum smoker up to temperature. We're going to be cooking this hot and fast, so that means we're going to be cooking at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Probably only going to take a couple of hours to get the right colour we want, and then you'll see the next step on how we're really going to start building extra flavour into the pork butt, and yeah, it's going to be delicious at the end. So now that we've got our gateway drum coming up to temperature, it's time to get it set up and ready to put our meat in. What we've got here is just 2 little bits of wood. I just want a little bit of smokiness coming from it. Yeah, we'll get enough coming out the charcoal as well. So I've got one piece, little piece of cherry wood here, and then I've got 1 piece of hickory there. That's all I'm going to need to smoke this pork butt. So just open this up, and literally I'm just going to plonk them straight on the flames. What I'm also going to do now is put a secondary rack in, just slightly lower. And the idea here is I just want to put a little pan in here, and that's going to help catch some of those pork juices, so I don't get too much pork, too much smoke flavour onto the meat. And then all that's left to do now is to put our little pork collar. I'll put it over the pan to begin with, and then we'll rotate it during the cook. This is going to go on now for 2 hours. And by the end of that, we'll be ready to wrap and really start building up some flavours. So our pork collar's been on now for 2 hours. The bark's set nicely. It's ready to be wrapped. It's taken on as much smoke as I want. So we're now going to start looking at how we're going to build our Chili Verde. And we're actually going to build this in the foil. We're going to do all the cooking in the tin foil as we're going to braise the meat. So we're going to move the camera closer, get right into this, and we'll start, we'll get this pork collar wrapped up. So to build our Chili Verde in the foil, the first thing that we're going to use is going to be this Gran Luchito Tomatillo Salsa. Tomatillos are quite difficult to get over here. You can buy them in tins, but they're a bit more difficult to roast than if you get them fresh. So these guys actually have them already, kind of fire roasted. They've got some onions and different flavors in it, bit of chili. So I'm going to start off and actually just lay a whole jar of this in the bottom of the foil, basically making a bed for where the pork collar is going to lie, and that's going to sit on top of that. The next thing we're going to use is actually this onion chutney. So I know a bit weird, it is a bit sweet, but I quite like a bit of sweetness into the Chili Verde. So again, just chucking it in, probably about half a jar of this stuff goes in there, and then this is me cooking, so obviously I need a bit of butter to go on the bottom. Okay, and then finally one other ingredient before I forget about it. I use this sweet roasted garlic, which is really nice. I get this from Waitrose. That's the only place I've seen it, but again I'm going to go pretty heavy, so probably about half a tube. There's a lot of meat going in here, and it's really sweet and tastes really good. So that's our bed of goodies kind of laid up. The next thing to do is going to be to grab the pork collar. And you can see here we've got this, the bark set nicely on it. So I'm just going to lay this straight down on top of there. But I'm not done making this more delicious. So again, I have another jar of this Gran Luchito Tomatillo Salsa. So again, I'm going to start off kind of pouring that over the top like that. That goes on nicely. And then we're going to go for a bit of butter on top, just like that. And then, one thing you're probably thinking is I haven't added any kind of spice to this yet. So what we're using here is this bottle of Frank's, again, fire roasted jalapenos. So, a Chili Verde is made with a lot of fire roasted peppers and whatnot. So, this is a good stand-in, and we'll add a bit of heat. And again, I'm just going to add like half a bottle half a bottle of this onto the pork collar. Try and keep my butter in place, but yeah, that sits nicely there. And then the last thing I'm going to do before we wrap this up is we are going to add a little bit of extra sugar. I haven't added a huge amount of spice here. We're just using up this jalapeno sauce at the moment. You know, it really is up to you how much heat you want in your dish. So, you know, we just, there we go, just about a handful of brown sugar on top. And again, that's just going to make it really sweet. You know, add some sweetness to it. And then finally, the last thing we're going to do, because of course we are making like a stew with all of this, is I'm just going to add some chicken stock in to kind of beef it out. Obviously, where we're cooking the pork butt in the juice here as well, sorry, in the foil and in our chili, we're going to get additional juices coming out of that again, which is going to make it really, really tasty. We're going to retain all of that in here. And then the last thing to do is to try and wrap this all up. And, you know, I want to make sure that we try not to spill as much of this juice as possible. So, yeah, going to wrap it up and trying to keep the edges pointing upwards as we go. So just get that corner done, and then I'll work on the sides. Again, just getting it in there. Okay, and then, yeah, just making sure that I've got it all lined up, and yeah, try and get it nice and tight. That. And I can bring that edge up, but so yeah, I do want to try and lift up all those ingredients so they don't get trapped in the foil so much. So, you know, try and bring that up like that. Same again on this side, try and bring that in close. That one's pretty good. And then finally we bring up this top edge here. So yeah, I can see I've got a little bit of leakage here already. So I'm just going to make sure when we cook this, I'm just going to keep it in a foil tray, so at least I can save some of these juices in the pan and not lose them in the bottom of my drum smoker. So just like that, just try and pull it all up as much as possible. So there we go. That's ready to go back onto the drum now. We're going to let this cook for another 2 hours, and then after it's done, we will be ready to pull, and it will just be nice and easy. So we're going to put this back on the smoker. Again, we're still cooking at 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and yeah, we'll see you in a little while. So now that we've got our pork butt off the cooker, yeah, this has been cooking for about another 2 hours. You can also see that my tin foil trick wasn't quite working, just because we had so much juice in here that I wanted to make sure we kept as much as possible. So we've got it in a better sized foil pan here. And then from here, so you can see we've got all this lovely juice. You know, you can see how the Tomatillo salsa is all cooked up. And now we can take what I'm going to do now is just take our pork butt out, or pork collar off. And the idea here is I'm going to pull this to the side, you know, take the tomatillos off and so on, just so I can then pull this out separately. You know, but obviously we've got all of this lovely juice, so all of the butter, the garlic, the onion, the tomatillos, the chicken stock, the juice is coming out of the pork itself. You know, this is going to be absolutely delicious. So, you know, I'm just going to set that to one side for now. And then, you know, we're just going to start pulling off the bits on the pork butt. And we'll get this all shredded up so it can just go nicely back into our salsa verde, you know, in our chili verde even. And we'll go from there. So I'm sure you've seen enough people pulling pork butts. So I'm going to get on with this, and we'll see you in a bit. So you can see now we've got our pulled pork broken down. You know, you can see we've left it quite chunky. You know, I don't want it to be ultra fine. You know, I like a little bit of texture left on this. So, you know, and all I've got to do is then just put all of this lovely meat straight into the chili verde, into the sauce. You know, all that cooking liquor, the tomatillos, the onions, the garlic, the butter, oh, chicken stock, everything. So, you know, and just make sure I don't lose much of that. And then you can see, you know, we've got that all there. I'm just going to use my hands just to mix it up a bit. Okay, just to make sure that all of that meat gets covered, and then just leave it in there to soak a bit as well. So that meat's gonna take on that flavour, and literally that is done. You know, that is your chili verde. Now, this is perfect to serve with rice. You know, you can just have it very plain with some rice, or what I actually like to do is actually make these with some tacos. So we're gonna show you how we're gonna make this up in a minute. So making our tacos, you know, this is how I really like to eat them. This does make an amazing taco. You know, I'm just going to start off by taking some of our chili verde. You know, it will get a bit messy, but I'm not worried about that. You know, a couple of bits of meat. Make sure I get some of that sauce in there. You know, get that all nicely filled. I always get told off by the missus for overfilling my tacos, but I'm not that worried. And then, you know, I like to fill these, add a little bit of sour cream with it. Okay. And then I'll take some pickled red onions and kind of sprinkle a few of those on top. I then have these candied jalapenos that I get from a company called the Chili Project. These are really good and delicious. So, you know, I'll put a few little jalapenos in there. You know, I'm not really, you know, just add a bit more of a kick. And then finally, you know, I'll just put a little bit of, I mean, I'm just using crumbled feta because, you know, it's hard to get the proper Mexican cheese here. And that's it. You know, that is our little chili verde taco. The only thing that's left to do is kind of have a bite. Mmm. Oh, yeah. Lovely. Mm. Mm. Now that is delicious. So hopefully, you know, let us know what you think. I'd love to see it if you guys are trying this at home. Let us know how you get on with it. You know, real nice different take on, you know, the traditional pulled pork that, you know, if you've been cooking barbecue for a while, you're probably looking for something just to try and make it, you know, make it a bit different than the same old, same old. As always, I hope you've enjoyed it. You know, we're looking to come up with more videos over the next coming weeks and months, and, you know, be a bit more active on here. So, you know, remember, you know, hit that like, subscribe button. You know, please share it to your friends, and yeah, we'll see you on the next one.